So we have a new phase of the coronavirus bailout bills. They're calling this one phase 3.5. I guess, because the price tag on this one doesn't reach into the trillions of dollars. They're thinking this is not its own new phase, but it's, 3.5. So it's like, this is a semi one. This is just a little bit, sprinkle a little bit, doesn't even reach $1 trillion. So, this is a relatively minor one, the way that they're thinking these days. So Fox News reports the following about it. The Senate on Tuesday passed nearly a $500 billion coronavirus phase 3.5 relief bill that would replenish a small business rescue program known as the Paycheck Protection Program, provide hospitals with another $75 billion, and implement a nationwide virus testing program to facilitate reopening the economy. The measure passed by voice vote, which simply requires each side to holler yay or nay, with the loudest side winning. Ahead of the bill's passage, some Republicans voiced their frustration that there was not a full roll call vote, even as some senators remained at home amid the pandemic. This is not acceptable, Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, said on the Senate floor. We should not be passing legislation without Congress actually being in session. Now, they go on to say, and Rand Paul does the same thing, where he's like, this isn't right. We shouldn't have the voice vote. We got to, actually record the votes, bro. But they have the ability and they have the right to say, no, I'm going to make everybody, go on the record to show them how they voted. Did they use that ability? No, they didn't. So in other words, vapid grandstanding. Somebody should really keep track of this and keep a record of this, because this is not good. You have the ability to say, all right, let's do it. I'm forcing us to keep track of this. And of course, they're like, but what had happened was the sun was in my eyes and I was looking down the road and me and Craig and them was by the Safeway and then new phone, who this? they don't want it to be recorded. They want a virtue signal and grandstand like, maybe I'm actually against this, and then do nothing to actually prevent it. So, Mike Lee and Rand Paul are being ridiculous. The progressives on this front, I wish the lefties, I wish Bernie Sanders, I wish these people, Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, any of them, would do the same thing and actually invoke it. Like, no, I'm going to get us on the record. But nobody wants to do it because everybody knows that, or they have some idea that in the future, we're going to look back at these votes and be like, oh, what a gross, terrible thing. Now, perhaps this phase isn't as bad as, the previous corporate socialism phase where we just handed over $4.5 trillion to corporate America and let them loot the treasury. Perhaps this isn't as bad as that one, but nobody wants accountability here. Nobody wants accountability. And so they're basically skirting accountability by not getting anything on record and just doing a voice vote. So it's a mess and it's stupid. And, the Republicans are pretending to have some objections. They don't object. And they're not, the Democrats, the so-called progressives, are not even pretending to object. They're just sitting there whistling all day long. So now you might look at the terms of this particular bill and say, I don't know, Kyle, this one doesn't seem so bad because, like I said, there's some money for hospitals in there. They want to get a nationwide testing program, and the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses is pretty important. And I agree with you. This is not nearly as egregious as the previous bills. However, when you get a sense of what could have been put in this bill and wasn't put in this bill, you'll see yet again why the Democrats are just totally useless and pathetic. So this is Jeff Stein from Washington Post. He does some amazing work, and he said the following. Things not in the bill. Hazard pay for frontline workers. By the way, pause. Strike one, you're out. No, that is an absolute necessity. An absolute necessity. Hazard pay for frontline workers. Are you kidding me? Every single frontline worker should be getting at least double pay. And don't tell me we can't afford it when we just gave $4.5 trillion to multinational corporations at the blink of an eye, and then they turned around and laid people off and paid bonuses because there were no strings attached. So hazard pay for frontline workers, not in the bill. money for states and cities. Mitch McConnell is literally saying file for bankruptcy if you have to, if you're a state or a city. Elections security. So that has to do with, switching the election over to like a all-mail election because you don't want anybody showing up because who knows what the hell the deal is going to be with the virus at that point in time. More oversight on the bailout. There's no more oversight on the bailout. Food stamp money, super important. Rent freeze, not in this bill, and they could have put it in this bill. And of course, the most important one that's missing, there's no more stimulus money in this bill. That one-time $1,200 payment that some people got, because of course they means tested it, and some people didn't get it too, because you have to have your bank account information on file with the IRS so they can do the direct deposit. If not, it's going to take longer to get to you. That one-time payment is still all you're getting. All you're getting. It's all you're getting. This is insanity. Look at how a bunch of other countries are dealing with this. I've given you all the details, but whether it's the UK, there are some Scandinavian countries that are like, okay, listen, we're going to pay 75% or 80% of your wages in perpetuity for the rest of the crisis, and we're going to make it so that nobody's going to be unemployed. You're going to be furloughed, and then eventually you'll get back and you'll still have your job. So the government's stepping in and saying, we'll take over payroll for everybody. And then eventually, we'll turn it back over, and when everything gets back to some semblance of normalcy, and we're good. Now, here in the U.S., what's happening? Everybody and their mother's getting fired. 22 million people in a short time span. It might be an actual record, like a literal record, might surpass the Great Depression. The previous record for 1 week, people filing unemployment, was about 690,000 people. This was during the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. Recently, what have we had? 3 million, 6 million, 6.6 million, 5 million. Those are weeks. Each one of those is in a week. And then, I swear to God, the headlines this last week, where it said 5 million people, the headlines were like, oh, looks like we're improving. Are you kidding me? Each one of those weeks is on its own a record. And we're not handling this in an intelligent way. At the very least, we should be doing a UBI. At the very least. And keep paying people every month, at least for the duration of this crisis. I would like to see it, period, like a new Social Security for all type bill. Because if anything, we need it. If this shows anything, it shows that. But no. In this bill that they're all, jolly in Washington over, passing by a voice vote, no accountability, there's none of that stuff. And I don't see Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown in the Senate making a peep. What's the point of being in the Senate or being in the House if you're just going to go along to get along like a sheep and do nothing for the people? You do realize that if you're an elected official, to one extent or another, you have a bully pulpit. You could literally go on the floor, give a speech, and start screaming at Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, and Nancy Pelosi and say, all of you have sold us out. All of you are useless. Yet Nancy Pelosi showing everybody her super expensive ice cream in her $12,000 fridge and freezer as everybody's struggling and can't pay the bills. We don't have a rent freeze. We don't have a UBI. We have no more stimulus money. There's no oversight on the bailout. There's no money for states and cities. There's no hazard pay for frontline workers. What are you doing? What's the point of you? Why should anybody vote for you if this is how you act? People want leadership. People want somebody to represent them. And they're not being represented. Nobody's representing them. It's embarrassing, man. I mean, we're talking about Washington, D.C. is just packed full of lemmings. Just sheep. Whatever Mitch McConnell says, yes, sir, I will do exactly what you want me to do, sir. Even the grandstanders like Mike Lee and Rand Paul. I don't know about all this. I might be against this to one extent or another, except not really, because I'm not even going to make it so that we have to have a real vote. It can only be a voice vote. This is really bad. It's so bad that I'm going to let it happen. Useless! Useless! Bernie! Elizabeth Warren! Sherrod Brown! What are you doing, bro? Where you guys at, skis? Where you at? Where's your fire-breathing speech for hazard pay? Where is it? Where's your fire-breathing speech for more stimulus money? For a rent freeze? Where is it? Why don't you call out your leadership by name? Why don't you scream about it so it's guaranteed to make the news? Why don't you scream about it? You don't even have to do it on the Senate floor or the House floor, respectively. You could do it in an Instagram video, in a YouTube video. Just scream a little bit at the leaders. Scream at Chuck Schumer. Scream at Nancy Pelosi. Scream at Mitch McConnell. Scream at Donald Trump. Say, are you kidding me? People are struggling. They're in dire straits. But no, because, and I'm not kidding about this. You're going to say, Kyle, come on, that didn't really happen. I swear it happened. I swear it happened. They turned around and said, well, in the next bill, we'll do that stuff. They've been saying that since phase one. When they did phase one, in the next bill, we'll worry about that. And then in phase the next bill. And then phase this isn't even a new phase, bro. This is 3.5. It's not even phase 4. And you want more stimulus checks and a rent freeze? The next time we do a full phase, then maybe we'll include that. Watch, they're gonna go 3.5 to 3.75. Oh man, everybody's struggling, and they're just. And we're going to do the story in a little bit, but guess what? It's already happening. After they implement corporate socialism, so the corporations cannot fail under any circumstance, they $4.5 trillion, let corporate America loot the treasury, fully taxpayer funded as far as the eyes can see. Mitch McConnell turns around and goes, we're spending too much money here. We better watch it because of the debt. They didn't say Dickie McGee's axe when it came to the multi-trillion-dollar tax cut bill where 83% of the benefits went to the rich. They didn't say anything about the debt. They didn't say anything about the deficit. They don't say anything about the debt or the deficit when it's the war in Iraq or any of these bomb fests, multi-trillion-dollar wars. They don't say anything. And when it came to implementing corporate socialism and handing the keys to the treasury over to corporate America, they didn't say anything about price. Now, when we're like, people need another stimulus check. I'm broke, bro. I can't do this. I don't have the money. Pathetic. What's the point? What's the point of what these guys are doing? And you wonder why Congress has like a 22% approval rating. Because of this. And everybody gets on their high horse. When you have an election and one side wins, everybody gets on their high horse. Ha ha, they like us. They really like us. No, they don't. Because again, go back and do a poll in a couple weeks, and the approval rating will be 22% again of Congress. Why? Everybody knows they're voting for a lesser evil every time they vote. Everybody knows that they're all evil. We're watching it unfold right in front of us now. Not a single one of these people is fighting for you. Not a single one of these people cares about you. Even the ones who are nominally better, for whatever reason, they've been duped. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they're telling me the truth when they say in the next bill we'll get around to doing something that maybe isn't objectively terrible. What a mess, man. What a mess. They don't work for you. They don't care about you, whether it's the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Let me tell you who they represent. They're donors. They represent their corporate donors. That's who they represent. And they've never made it more clear than in this crisis.